Welcome back to Wisdom Unveiled. This is episode 15 of 18. Today, we're really diving deep into the brilliant mind of Ibn Sina, and our mission really is to try and unpack this paradox, this fundamental puzzle. Why do our minds, which feel so powerful, often seem so limited? And importantly, how did Ibn Sina think we could, unlock their boundless potential? Now, we're pulling our insights today from some fantastic translations of conversations with two really insightful Iranian philosophers, Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani. They have a way of bringing these complex ideas to life. Just a quick heads up before we jump in. This is a translation of conversations with Iranian philosophers, so some nuances, some details might not be fully conveyed. We do apologize if there are any discrepancies.
It really is a core question, isn't it? I mean, if our intellects have this innate power, this ability to grasp abstract, universal stuff, why can't we just know everything instantly? What's the barrier? What holds us back from that total simultaneous understanding? And for Ibn Sina, this isn't just like a philosophical game. It's absolutely central. It's the key to his whole idea of the rational soul, the Natika.
It sounds like quite the journey we're setting out on. We're going from these apparent limits
Yeah.
to the nature of existence itself, human freedom, even this idea of self-creation, and ending up, hopefully, with a path to connect with the infinite. It's a big picture. So where do we start? How did Ibn Sina see the intellect?
Right, so Ibn Sina starts by making a clear distinction between the intellect, the āql, and our senses. He says the āql, it doesn't really deal with specifics. It's not about this red apple right here or that specific sound. Instead, it grasps universals mujarrad. These are abstract concepts, totally detached from time or place. Think about, cause and effect as a principle, or mathematical truths like 2 + 2 = 4. These aren't physical things you can touch. The intellect knows them in a non-physical way. It's like getting a complex joke, maybe, or seeing the logic in a proof. It happens inside.
Okay, I get that. It's abstract, non-physical. But that brings us right back to the paradox. If it's operating in this pure realm, potentially limitless, why does it feel so restricted? Why the struggle? Why do we learn things piece by piece? What's the bottleneck?
And here's where Ibn Sina gives a pretty radical answer, really shifts your perspective. He argues that the only obstacle preventing the intellect from grasping all intelligible things at once is matter, specifically our physical body, the intellect itself. It's not weak, it's not inherently limited, it's just what's housed in and filtered through this physical form.
Oh, okay. So the intellect's fine, it's powerful, but the body is acting like a filter. Or maybe blinkers on a horse. The intellect could potentially see everything, this huge panorama, but the body forces it down a narrow path, making it focus on one thing at a time, usually whatever the senses are picking up or what the body needs right now. So it's not weak, it's just busy, occupied.
Occupied is a good word for it, exactly. While we're in this body, that connection to the physical, to the particular, it inevitably restricts simultaneous access to the universal. The body is a constant filter, maybe even a distraction sometimes, pulling the intellect's focus away from the purely abstract. So in this life, it's maybe less about removing the blinkers entirely and more about learning to manage them, to be aware of them.
And does that relate to how he saw different kinds of knowledge, like empirical science versus philosophy?
It does, definitely. It highlights why empirical science, which is obviously incredible for understanding the observable world, why it ultimately hits a ceiling from his perspective. Its method is tied to measurement, to the physical, the perceptible. Philosophy, for Ibn Sina, is trying to find those missing pages. It asks the ultimate why questions about existence itself. It pushes beyond what we can measure, trying to grasp what lies beyond that bodily filter.
Okay, so the body filters our intellect, focusing it on particulars. Does this mean there's a fundamental split between reality, what is, and our knowledge, what we know? Or did Ibn Sina see a way to bridge that gap? You mentioned earlier he connects knowledge and existence.
Exactly. He really aimed to show that knowledge, epistemology, and existence ontology aren't two separate things in the end. They converge. And figuring that out, he thought, also helps us understand that other apparent split, we often feel the one between intellect and, say, love, or ishq. They seem different, right? Head versus heart. Ibn Sina suggests that deep down, they're connected, part of the same reality.
Interesting. So solving the knowledge existence puzzle also helps with the intellect love one. How does he actually show they converge?
The key concept here is something called tashkik. It basically means gradation of being. Existence isn't just one flat thing like an on-off switch. It has levels, degrees, ranks. But crucially, all these levels are still connected, part of one underlying reality.
Gradation. Like steps on a ladder, maybe? Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about potential, balquawe, versus actual bilfel. A seed is potential, right? Potential to be a tree. But in its state of being potential, it is actually a seed. Its potentiality is its actuality right now.
Mm.
See? Or mental existence, Deni, versus external existence, Khariji. The idea of a mountain in your mind, that idea is a real thing, existing externally within your mind. Even unity, Wahid, and multiplicity, Kathir, take the number 100. The multiplicity, lots of ones. But it's also one thing, 100. The divider, the concept that groups them, is present in the divisions. They aren't absolute opposites.
I think I'm starting to see it. The distinctions aren't hard walls. They're more like different shades or aspects of one continuous thing. And you're saying this applies to intellect and love, too. The intellect, aql, is the seeker, but it moves with the step of love.
Precisely. When the intellect, on its journey, reaches what Ibn Sina calls the alam al-quds, the realm of holiness or pure abstraction, those apparent barriers between knowing and feeling, between intellect and love, they just dissolve. They become one unified experience. It's described as experiencing enduring light, a true unified knowledge that is also deeply felt.
Wow. So true understanding isn't cold and detached. It's infused with this love or intense longing.
Exactly. And this whole journey is intimately tied to something uniquely human: freedom. Think about it. Everything else in the cosmos, stars, rivers, mountains, they're all in motion, following their nature, right? But they're always sort of in the middle. They don't consciously know their beginning or their end. They just are. Humans, though, we have this incredible capacity to initiate a new beginning on a wall at any given moment. And that comes directly from our freedom, our ability to choose.
That's a powerful image. Everything else is just flowing along, but we can actually decide to change course entirely. You mentioned the example before, someone who's been a disbeliever their whole life suddenly having a profound experience of faith, or the opposite. That complete turnaround, that inner revolution, that's a new beginning, only possible because we're free.
It absolutely is. And tied to this freedom is another unique ability. We can narrate ourselves. A mountain can't tell its own story. A river can't reflect on its past. They just exist. But a human can step back, look at their past self, analyze it, talk about it, even critique it. We are, in a sense, both the storyteller and the story, the observer and the observed. This shows the intellect's power to transcend even itself, to look at itself and choose a different narrative going forward.
That's fascinating. We're not just living the story, we're also capable of writing the next chapter consciously. It reminds me of that analogy you use, the horizon, you walk towards it, but it keeps receding. You never actually get there. Is the intellect's journey like that? A constant movement, an infinite suluk towards an ever-expanding understanding?
That's a perfect analogy for it. It's a perpetual journey. There isn't a final destination where the intellect just stops and says, okay, done, all right. Think also about, say, a drop of water. It goes from a stream to a river, then maybe into the vast ocean. Does it stop moving? No, it keeps moving with the ocean. The intellect's journey is like its incessant movement, but also a kind of thabat, a steadfastness within that movement. It's always reaching, always engaging with the non-finite reality. No stagnation, just deeper and deeper engagement.
So this constant journey, this ability to start anew, this self-narration, it all leads to Ibn Sina's idea that we can create ourselves, not physically, obviously, but internally, shaping who we are on the inside. What does that actually involve?
He calls this inner work the Jihadi Akbar, the greater struggle, or the greater jihad. It's an internal battle, a fight against the lower aspects of ourselves, uncontrolled desires, illusions like superstitions or irrational fears, and especially those deeply ingrained bad habits, the atat, that cloud our judgment and prevent us from seeing clearly. These are the real prisons, the eternal ones we build that keep us from understanding and from true freedom.
That phrase, Jihadi Akbar, the greater struggle,
Yeah.
it really resonates, especially the part about ingrained habits, adat. It feels like, breaking any bad habit is a constant battle. How did Ibn Sina suggest we actually win this internal struggle? What's the key?
The key, he says, is agahi, which means awareness. But not just passive awareness. It's an active, profound consciousness. It involves a constant openness to truth, a real, genuine curiosity, and, very importantly, sincerity, said Akwat. It means actively questioning your assumptions, refusing to let your desires or biases block your understanding. It's a constant state of self-reflection. And this is what leads to true freedom. Not external freedom, but internal freedom, which means aligning what you do with what your intellect, through this awareness, knows is right, even when it's hard. He talks about kafnaf, self-restraint, doing the right thing even if you don't feel like it, or not doing the wrong thing even if you really want to. And that kind of internal freedom, that's something no one can ever take away from you, no matter your external circumstances.
That connection between awareness, agahi, and true internal freedom is powerful. It makes sense. You can't be truly free if you're just blindly following habits or desires. It also seems connected to what you mentioned earlier about moderation, kai. Awareness helps us find that balance, avoiding extremes that lead to corruption.
Yes, precisely. The aware intellect calculates. It guides towards that balance, realizing that harmony comes from understanding both within ourselves and in society. Now, let's go back for a second to the Natika, the rational soul. You said it's more than just speech.
Right, it's the Kalame Darun, the inner speech, the whole internal world of thought.
Exactly. And this Natika has what Ibn Sina calls inbisat, a kind of perpetual awareness, an ongoing expansion. It's constantly receiving, processing, reflecting. It's connected to our core essence. And here he distinguishes between Guften and Gaft. Gaft is the actual spoken word. Finite, external comes and goes. But Guften, that's the continuous, potentially limitless, eternal inner saying or thinking, that constant stream of consciousness. That is closer to our true essence. It's the infinite battle of thought itself.
Okay, wait. So Guften, this inner endless stream of thought, that's our connection to the infinite. It's like an echo of the divine kalam, the divine speech or word. So just by thinking deeply, genuinely, we're tapping into something divine.
That's the implication, yes. Guften is where your essence resides, dynamically. The words we actually speak, gaft, are just ripples on the surface of that deep inner ocean. And how do we strengthen that connection? Through contemplation, fikr, deep thought. Ibn Sina suggested, for instance, meditating deeply on the divine names and attributes, alim, all-knowing, hakim, all-wise, latif, subtle. Not just repeating them, but really engaging your guftin, your deepest thought, in their meaning. Letting that reflection expand your soul.
It really seems like, for Ibn Sina, everything circles back to awareness, agahi. Salvation itself seems tied to it. Deep thought, fikr, is what guides good actions, and is worth more than just going through the motions, the mechanical repetition. And this path of intense reason, of philosophy, doesn't oppose mysticism for him, but actually leads to it, culminating in the insane kamil, the perfect human, whose awareness covers everything.
That's the synthesis he achieves, yes. Rigorous philosophy and deep mystical insight aren't separate paths. They converge in the fully realized human being.
What an incredible arc we've traced today. We started with our intellect feeling limited, constrained by the body, then saw how this perspective reframes even death, potentially, as a liberation for the intellect. And we explored this amazing capacity we have for self-creation, haleke khod, all driven by this constant deep awareness, agahi.
It really brings us to a practical point, though. If this deep awareness, this fikr, this constant thoughtful engagement is the key to unlocking our potential, connecting to the infinite, then the question becomes, how do you, listening right now, actually cultivate that? Not just when you have quiet time for meditation, but in the middle of everything. The noise, the emails, the commute, the daily grind. How do you practice agahi then?
That really is the challenge, isn't it? Amidst all the external noise, how do we tune in? How do we train ourselves, train our souls to hear that inner call of the Natika, that guftin beneath all the shouting of the world? It's definitely something to ponder, maybe the real jihadi Akbar for modern life. A truly profound challenge to end on. Thank you so much for walking us through Ibn Sina's thought today. My pleasure. It's always rich territory to explore, isn't it?
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us for this deep dive on Wisdom Unveiled. We sincerely hope you'll continue the journey with us next time. Until then, keep thinking, keep questioning, and keep seeking that wisdom within.